I'm Chef Frank, this is Protocooks, and today we're making a great end of the summer salad, Panzanella. A Panzanella salad is basically a stale bread salad with tomatoes, and today I'm going to show you my version. Traditionally, the bread in this salad is stale, so it's soaked in water to make it softer. I'm going to do this a little different today. For my Panzanella, this is what you're going to need. Really nice tomatoes, some chili flakes, a loaf of day-old bread, some parsley, red onion, garlic, some celery hearts, red wine vinegar, extra virgin olive oil, and of course salt and pepper. Before we make the salad, I want to talk about some of the ingredients, and we're going to start with the tomatoes. It is the late summer in the Northeast where I live, and that means it's tomato season. I got these at a local farmer's market. They are beautiful, juicy, and delicious. These are heirloom tomatoes. Heirloom tomatoes are tomatoes that went out of fashion because they didn't look great. They taste great, they didn't ship well, and they didn't look so pretty. I mean, they have beautiful colors, but their shapes are off, and they have like little bruises and blisters on them, but they are wonderful tomatoes, okay? If you can find these, use them. If you can't find these, if it's kind of off season, Trader Joe's sells these brown tomatoes. They're called Kumato tomatoes, and if you can find them somewhere, they're really good all year round. I find that these are a great substitute in the winter if I'm craving tomatoes. So if you can't find really nice heirloom tomatoes, go to Trader Joe's or go to your supermarket and look for Kumatos or brown tomatoes. Another ingredient I want to talk about is red wine vinegar. And I find that most red wine vinegars in supermarkets are lacking. They're not really that great. So what I do is I buy the store brand red wine vinegar, and whenever I have leftover red wine, I add it. It's about 2/3 vinegar to 1/3 wine. And it reminds me of the vinegar we used to make when I was a kid. And I find if I do this, it kind of reminds me of that. Another one of the ingredients I want to talk about is celery. I like celery hearts in this salad. It's not traditional, but I like to use celery hearts. The nice white part, I've washed this. There's some leaves there. And all I'm going to do with this is just cut it kind of thin with the leaves and all. I don't need a lot of it. I just want a little to kind of flavor my salad. This isn't super traditional. You'll see cucumbers. I'm just going to shave that, put in my bowl. Another one of the ingredients that I'm going to get ready for us is red onion. And red onion is really traditional in this. I'm not going to use all of it. This is a big one, right? I'm going to slice it, and then I'm going to soak it in water. And this isn't necessarily traditional either. I learned this from a lot of the Mexican guys I worked with throughout my career. It takes some of the bite out. So we're going to have onion flavor, but it's not going to be overpowering, okay? So I'm going to let this soak for about 10 minutes in some water, just to take some of that like really sharp bite out of it. And then I'm just gonna put it in my colander and strain it out. Next thing we're gonna do is get the bread ready, and this is where I differ, right? A lot of times with this bread, it's stale, right? I'm using bread that's kind of a day old. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tear it up and I'm gonna saute it with some garlic oil. Normally what they'll do with this bread is they'll soak it in water because it's really hard, squeeze the water out. I don't really like the texture of that. I'm not gonna use this whole loaf. I'm not making a ton of this. You can do two different things, right? If you want, I like to leave the crust on. You could take this and just dice it, and you can put it into your bowl. That's fine. But what I like to do is get my hands in there and kind of just tear it so that I got nice big pieces with like nice nooks and crannies that'll soak up all that nice tomato juice. See? It's like nice and rustic, just like grandma would do, right? Let me put this aside and let me grab the garlic. I have 3 or 4 cloves of garlic, and all I'm gonna do with my garlic is give it a whack. Right? Maybe I'll just chop it. These are pretty big. I might just give it like a rough chop and just kind of run your knife through it. That's it. I'm not going crazy with this. I want to see some of the garlic in there. I don't want it to be super strong. We're gonna toast this off. The garlic's chopped. My bread is torn. I'm gonna just get a pan, put some extra virgin in the pan. You don't need a lot. Just cover the bottom, right? Put your garlic in. Turn it up a little. And we're going to get the garlic just slightly brown, right? It's going to be nice and brown by the end of this because we're going to toast our bread. But I'm going to flavor my oil with the garlic, kind of perfume it, right? Break it up a little. Maybe my garlic chunks are a little big, but, you know, being a little aggressive. My garlic is starting to get fragrant, and I'm going to add my bread. right? And what I'm gonna do now is just toss my bread in some of that oil. And now I'm just gonna like leave it on fairly low heat. I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of salt, just a little bit of pepper. And I'm gonna let my bread and my garlic toast together for a few minutes. And just kind of turn it occasionally. And I'm gonna kind of fry my bread a little and get it a little crispy. So instead of using stale bread, I'm toasting it so that once it's toasted, it'll soak up our tomato juice for the salad. And you'll have some crispy bits, you'll have some soft bits, and that's what I'm looking for. Just kind of a good mix of texture. When it comes to like doing recipes, professional chefs are constantly adjusting and saying, oh, it might need more oil, this and that. The recipe is a great guideline, but for the most part, you might have to adjust as you cook, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to adjust if it doesn't look right. I'm just gonna add a little more oil. See, we need just a little adjustment there. Get it all over the place. So really good. Our bread is starting to get crispy. Our garlic is getting nice and brown. All I'm gonna do is take this off of the heat, let it cool. I want it to be slightly warm when we toss it. And now we're gonna assemble the salad. First thing I wanna do when I'm assembling my salad is get my tomatoes going. And a lot of times I've seen in traditional Panzanella salads, they'll take the tomatoes, cut them and salt them to draw out some of the moisture, and then they kind of throw that juice away. That doesn't fly with me. I don't like it. What I like to do is take my tomatoes, salt them, let them stew or sit in their juice, and then I put the bread in, and the bread soaks up that delicious juice. So that's what I'm gonna do first. And I always go kind of like for bite-sized pieces. I don't want big bites. I want kind of nice little bites. Look how nice and juicy that is. I'm gonna take my tomato and kind of just cut it into like kind of rough shapes. I'm not like concerned about shape. Again, I want rustic. Okay, I'm gonna put my bowl right here. Get my tomatoes in the bowl. Make sure you get all that juice too, that delicious juice. I like to get an assortment of tomatoes in there, different colors, different shapes. If there's some like cherry or grape tomatoes that you like, throw those in too, you know? But I'm just kind of doing wacky shapes. But I always try and keep them like at least one bite, okay? Cut the top off of there. There's a little bit of blemishes here. They're not gonna affect it, but look at the tiger striping on that tomato. Absolutely amazing. Now the tomatoes are cut, I'm gonna take my onions that I soaked and drained. Those go in. My celery hearts and my celery leaves. A nice pinch of chili flakes, okay? Hit this with a nice dose of salt. Some cracked black pepper. Okay? And then a really nice helping of extra virgin olive oil. Don't be shy with the olive oil. Get really nice olive oil. And again, like I said earlier, we can always adjust this if we need more later. And I'm gonna hit these with some of my beautiful red wine vinegar. And I'm gonna toss. At this point, you can see I have some juice there. It's not a lot. I'm gonna let this sit. Just sit at room temperature here for about 10 minutes, okay? And what that's gonna do is it's gonna draw more juice out of the tomatoes, and we're gonna have a really nice amount of juice that the bread can soak up. Tomatoes have been sitting. Look at how much more juice came out. That's what I'm looking for, a fair amount of juice. I'm gonna take some of this fresh parsley, flat leaf Italian parsley. A lot of people use flat leaf Italian parsley as just like a garnish, but I think it has a beautiful, fresh flavor. It brightens things up. So I'm just gonna take some of these leaves. You can put basil in this if you want as well. And then our bread, right? Bread, garlic, try and get everything out. Now we're gonna toss. Toss everything together. Let that bread soak up all this juice, right? A little more vinegar. I'm just gonna hit it with a touch more vinegar. And I'm gonna hit it with a little more extra virgin. It looks a little dry. Give it a toss, maybe just a little more salt. A little more black pepper. Excellent, look at that. All right, let's plate it up. Get a nice pile of this, a little bit of everything. Make sure you get a lot of that juice in there. Wait a sec, before I taste, I want to hit it with just a little more olive oil. Just a little more olive oil because, hey, olive oil is delicious. Before I taste, I want to talk about this salad really quick and the origins of it, right? In Italy, especially as you get further south, it gets poorer and poorer, and they tend not to throw anything away. They use everything up. And this is a great way of using stale bread up, right? You'll see lots of recipes with stale bread. In Sicily, instead of cheese, they'll use stale breadcrumbs on top of their pasta to give some crunch. And I love that about my Italian heritage. They don't let things go to waste. And that's what makes this salad even better. All right, the time is nigh. You like that?
What is nigh?
It's time. Time to taste. I got my Star Wars tasting spoon. I'm gonna dig in, make sure I get down below, get a piece of bread, a little bit of garlic, right? Give it a bite. A fork probably would have been a better choice. But what I love about this, tomatoes are fresh, the parsley's fresh, the onion's got some crunch, the bread soaks up the juice but still has a little bite to it. You have to try this salad, especially if you have good tomatoes. Gotta try it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We have merch down in the description down below. We also have a P.O. box down there. I want to thank our Patreon patrons for supporting us. Thank you so much, guys. And that's it. That's my version of this Panzanella salad, a beautiful late summer treat. I'm Chef Frank. This is Protocooks. Have a good one.